Hello everyone, this is Charles of Victoria Frontier. This video is going to be the banner review for the anniversary banner in Umamusume, featuring NTR and AV for the support cards and Kitasan Black, Matikanetannhauser for the Umamusumes. Do note that there's going to be 60 free pulls for the Umamusume banner and 60 free pulls on the support card banner. One more thing to note before we start, the rates for Narita Top Road on the support card banner is going to be 0.75 as always, but the rates for Admire Vega SR, the SR support card, even though it's a pickup support card, the rates for it is 1%. So pulling for Admire Vega is pretty much as difficult, if not even more difficult, than pulling for Narita Top Road SSR because you cannot pity the SR card. So it'll depend on if you are lucky enough to luck into a few Admire Vega SR Guts cards if you are going for MLB Guts Admire Vega for your Guts decks. I'll explain the importance of Guts Admire Vega in a moment, but for now, this is something to keep in mind of. We're gonna start by talking about Kitasan Black, the anniversary Uma. Kitasan Black is a long frontrunner specialist. She's both a strong ace and parent for long CMs, and she's still relevant on current day JP meta, although not as an ace, but as a parent. Her kit has a 20% speed and 10% stamina bonus. The speed bonus is due to how she cannot bring Kitasan Black the support card when you run like a Kitasan Black ace. So this 20% speed is to compensate for that, is to compensate for how it's going to be difficult to muster up like a speed support card to max speed on Kitasan Black herself. The stamina bonus also complements her long aptitude, or like her tendency to run on long races a lot quite well, and also helps with passing her objectives. While we're on the topic of stats, there is one thing I want to quickly talk about. Kitasan Black's objectives, or her career outside of making a track where there is no career goals. Kitasan Black's career is probably one of the most difficult or weakest careers to ever exist. She has pretty much no races before the first summer. You have to get like 5,000 fans, but after the first summer, from Classic June onwards, Classic late September onwards, there are 9 target races across her Classic and senior year. This is catastrophically bad because, especially considering that the scenarios from Aoharu onwards, from Make a New Track, from Unity onwards, it becomes more and more snowbally, and the stats that you gain in the latter half of the scenario gets exponentially higher. So the more target races you have in the latter half of your career, the worse it is. And Kitasan Black has it real bad. Here's something to keep in mind outside of Make a New Track scenario. Kitasan Black is, well, her career is relatively weak. There would be some difficulties in racing her stats on par with other Umas. Her main strategy is frontrunner. If it's your Oshi, you can sometimes go pace chaser. Her distance aptitudes, she is capable of running long and mediums. If it's like your Oshi, you can go take her to mile or even sprint. Sprint E is like sprint A, right? You can easily take it to sprint A with like 10 distance marks. Now, her unique skill is what makes her such a good frontrunner long specialist. Victory Cheer is going to moderately increase velocity when positioned towards the front on the third corner in the second half of the race, or quote unquote kick forward hard when toward the front on the backstretch late race. When the start of the late race is on the backstretch, which 99% of the time it's on a long race, like long races all have backstretch late race conditions, it's going to give her a 0.3 increase acceleration at the very start of the late race. This is not exclusively on long races. There is, for example, the current JPCM Del Mar 2200, which has a backstretch late race start. But like any course that has a backstretch late race start is going to have, Kitasan Black is going to be able to get an extra increased acceleration 0.3 on that track. Do note that if it's on a backstretch, if like this condition is triggered, then usually this increased target speed 0.25 doesn't really have that much effect because Kitasan Black will be in the acceleration zone, which means that an increase in target speed is not going to help her because she's still accelerating to her target speed. And before she does that, she's not going to be able to enjoy any target speed effect as is with any other target speed skill. You can think of this unique skill as quote-unquote long straightaway spurt for the first or second place in the lobby. If your Uma is like a frontrunner or pace chaser in a long race and you are able to get into first or second place when entering the late game, you will really want victory cheer on your Uma for that extra acceleration. If it's Kitasan Black herself, then that's going to be 0.3 acceleration. When inherited, it's still going to be a 0.1 acceleration for 3 seconds. Do note that, for example, just as a comparison or for your reference, straightaway spurt lasts 0.9 seconds and gives 0.2 acceleration, and the gold version gives 0.4 acceleration or 0.9 seconds. Kitasan Black unique, when inherited, gives the user 3-second 0.1 acceleration. So don't think of this, oh, it's just 0.1 acceleration. It's not significant. No, it's actually quite significant for the owner of this unique skill. And even more so for Kitasan Black herself with the innate unique skill. This unique skill has a second condition. If she is towards the front, on the third corner in the second half of the race. For example, Satsuki Sho, Nakayama 2000 meters. When she is right here in the mid game, the purple portion of the race, and she enters the third corner before entering the late game, the cyan part, she is going to proc unique right here as like a mid game unique skill or a good 5 seconds base duration of 0.25 target speed, which is not bad by any means. She's a very strong ace on long, but if you want to take her to say medium, you can definitely do so if she's your Oshi. She's not the weakest Uma on medium. Looking at her innate skills, she has focus, long straightaways, and early lead as her innate skills. She has on her awakenings, medium straights, taking the lead, and leader's pride, as well as blast forward, which is gold long straights on her awakening skills. Among these skills, the ones that we would immediately notice is for her on long races, taking the lead is very nice. Leader's pride as well as long straightaways is very good to have as well. While taking the lead and leader's pride does help her fight for position very well, I would say that blast forward with the base cost being 150 is actually not as efficient in terms of like skill points, because you only get another extra 0.1 effect after you upgrade from double circle, which is a 0.25 effect, to the gold version, which is only a 0.35 effect for 150 base cost. Which is why I would recommend players to not buy blast forward if you have other skills to spend her skill points on. This is going to be one of the last buys that you would want. Although she doesn't have groundwork in her kit, for a long Uma, for example, let's use CM11 as an example. Since CM11, a long race, is 3200 meters long, groundwork is not mandatory to get a good lead or get a forward position on such a long race, such as Hanshin 3200 meters. So just having taken the lead enough means that you can free up your wit card slot and not have to bring wit bourbon, unlike other aces. She has some hints sprinkled around her kit. For example, she has corner recovery as well as corner adept hints in her events with choices. In her secret event, she has spring runner and soft step. If she wins the triple crown, which you have to do 2 extra races for, she's going to get keeping the lead and steadfast, which is 2 relatively weak skills. Considering that the next scenario we are in is like Grand Live, right? Grand Live is a scenario where you are not supposed to take any extra races. It's really bad to take any extra races, so we just have to consider that these secret events are not going to be that relevant for the time being. She also gets prudent positioning from winning the triple crown plus the Aruma Kinen on the senior year, but like as I just said, it's really difficult to fit in those 2 extra races. The pacing does not allow you to do so on Grand Live or the future scenarios, considering Kitasan Black's very gruesome career race rotation. To sum her up, Kitasan Black is the first of many true long specialist Umas to join the front lines of long CM. She's going to be a relevant ace or parent for the upcoming CM. For example, immediately it's CM11 and then it's CM20, 24, 28, etc. Do remember that Saiyan Sky is also closely following Kitasan Black. Ballroom Saiyan Sky has a very similar kit to Kitasan Black, except that Ballroom Saiyan Sky is a little bit better at fighting for the first place. Ballroom Saiyan Sky's unique skill is very similar to Kitasan Black's unique skill. You can also go for Ballroom Saiyan Sky if armpits isn't exactly your taste. There is going to be 63 pulls. Might be worth considering waiting out the 63 pulls first if you want to all in on Kitasan Black. It's going to be the first 6 free pulls, the first 6 days of making a track, and then afterwards the 7th to 12th day is going to be the Narita Top Road free pulls. Good luck to everybody that is considering to pull for Kitasan Black. The second unit of this anniversary banner is going to be 2-star Matikanetannhauser. Quite the tongue twister, yeah? She has a 20% stamina and 10% guts bonus, which is not that great of a stat bonus. Her aptitudes mainly facilitate her to play late surger. She can also go pace, but I'll explain the unique skill and explain to you why late surger is the better strategy for her. She can go on mile. This is a mile D. You can slam like 4 mile sparks on her and make her be able to run on mile in the make any track scenario. Her unique skill, Go Men, is a hybrid unique skill that has both stamina recovery 0.055, which is a gold recovery, and increased target speed by 0.25 for 5 seconds. This unique skill procs when it's more than halfway through the race and she is in the mid pack, which means that she's within 3rd place to 6th place. This unique skill is going to proc and give her the speed and recovery effect. As for her innate skills, she has Calm in the Crowd, Pressure, Slick Surge, Shake It Out, Unruffled, Home Stretch Haste, and Overwhelming Pressure. There's quite a bit of recoveries in her kit. She also has like Slick Surge, which is the Late Surger XL. To sum her up, she is a budget, long / late surger Team Trials Uma that has a lot of recovery skills for beginners. She is not the best in slot for Team Trials. As always, late surger still has close to no relevancy on long races until Mugamuchu, or Lose Yourself, the acceleration skill for late surgers, drops with the Shimberly Chris S stamina card. But before that, I don't really recommend going late surgers on long races for both champions meetings and team trials. Remember that she's a 2-star. You can sooner or later spook her in some random pulls when you're pulling for another character. So if you're not intending to pull or go all in for Kitasan Black, please do not impulse pull on this banner because there are a lot of popular or relevant Umas for the next few months. Back in the Taiwanese server, I distinctly remember this period having just a bunch of Umas to take up your karats because there's just really just a bunch of popular characters around here from like Tamamo Cross, this area, Chiono Od, Ardan, Admire Vega, Kira, Sato, Ballroom Saiyan. There's a lot of characters that a lot of people like. Remember that if you like Matikanetannhauser, you can always get her from a random pull because she's now in the pool of random 2-stars that you can hit in the banners. So yeah, this is just a little PSA to not snack eat on this banner. Now, for Speed Narita Top Road SSR. Oh wait, one sec, let me clean this up. Narita Top Road Speed SSR is quote-unquote the strongest speed card for 4 months for the entirety of MAT. She has a very big forehead and an even bigger speed training click. With a 35% specialty priority, I could go an entire run without a single good human Narita Top Road click, and yet in the Euro finale, I can clutch up and get these insane speed training clicks and turn the tide of battle in just 1 round. Narita Top Road is a speed card that really isn't that consistent, but when she hits hard. Narita Top Road has very strong training in the late game, a relatively weak early game, which means that the risk of losing early game races in MANT is significantly higher. She has a slow startup speed with her passive requiring her to reach to 200,000 fans, the unique effect. You get increased training effect by 1 per 10k fans, up to 20 training effect for 200,000 fans. She has a low starting bond of 15 initial friendship gauge and low specialty priority of 35 only. For a speed card, 35 is relatively low and inconsistent. However, she does make up for it with her very strong single click training with 30% friendship bonus, 1 speed bonus, 1 power bonus, as well as 20% training effect when maxed fans. She also has decent events with mid up on her first event, but minus 10 energy confirmed with speed, stamina, and wit plus 7. On her second event, there's another optional 30 stats right here, and on the last event, there's another 30 stats right here. Do note that in order to get the 37 speed and stamina stat, you do need to take or sacrifice 30 energy, which in MANT, during the scenario, during the run, this energy is actually going to be very scarce. Just losing 10 energy may require you to spend another energy drink to compensate for like taking another race, or it just messes up with your energy management, which is honestly quite significant. However, I do still recommend tanking the 10 energy in Mant over taking the 20 energy. It's very situational. When you learn the scenario, you'll understand which one is better when you actually need energy and when you don't need energy, but most of the time we are taking the top despite it messing up our energy management. Finally, on her support card hints, she has non-standard distance, firm condition, inner post, preferred positions, prepared to pass, long straightaways, and all I've got as her support card skill hints. She gives you a hint level 3 when you acquire a hint from her, and the hint frequency is 30%, which is alright. It helps with her getting her bond to 80 because her starting bond is quite low in the early game. The green skills help with getting groundwork triggers on frontrunners. All I've got, prepared to pass, and preferred positions can be used for characters, for example, Christmas Augury or like Pace Chaser skills and whatnot. However, for these few months, aside from Christmas Augury, for the 6 CMs in Mant, I don't recall that many Pace Chasers being relevant aside from Christmas Augury, or maybe Nishino Flower, or maybe the various Pace Chasers on the sprint race in the last CM. In her events, she gives you Pace Chaser Savvy, Pressure, and Firm Course Menace. Pace Chaser Savvy is, well, it's just a Pace Chaser green skill. Pressure, I don't think at the time of first anniversary, Pressure is buffed at all. So Pressure will not have the increased acceleration by 0.05, and instead it will only give you increased target speed by 0.15, which usually the proc timing of Pressure, since it's the millisecond you overtake anybody in the late race on long races, this skill will actually usually proc on the acceleration zone instead of procking at a point where you want it to proc, which is outside of the acceleration zone. Firm Course Menace is the gold version of Firm Conditions. This skill works for 4 CMs on Mant. It does not work on both CM11 and also CM15, which is both Hanshin either 3200 or 2200 meters. Otherwise, on CM12, 13, 14, and 16, this Firm Course Menace is going to work for your Umas if you take this gold skill. I would say though, the effect that you're getting for 100 skill points plus like the cost, the initial cost of buying single circle and double circle Firm Conditions, I would say that the 300 something skill point cost of this skill is personally not that great of an effect. However, speed greens like Firm Course Menace, this is a speed green, is very valuable on courses with no or speed stat thresholds. For example, a track like Taurus Cup, Tokyo 2400 meters Derby. A stat threshold of none means that green skills are relatively stronger. So the value on green skills is going to be like slightly higher on tracks like Nakama 2000, at Tokyo 2400. Firm Course Menace is not exactly like a bad buy per se, as long as the speed effect is not diminished by like stat thresholds with like stamina and guts, where the stat thresholds are going to make your speed bonuses or like, well, extra speed effect from speed greens worth tiny bit less. That's all for Firm Course Menace. Finally, we have up tempo in the random events. Well, yeah, actually in her random events, there is another 25 speed for 10 energy event here. And then for her other event, there is up tempo, which is a pretty decent, actually quite strong pace or frontrunner mid-game skill on medium tracks for any Uma that's 1 to 5th place and a random point in the mid-game. I believe it's quite important to point out that Top Road does not have race bonus before 3LB. So from 3LB onwards, she actually gets her race bonus here, but before that, she actually does not have race bonus. She is not usable in Mant. Well, I wouldn't consider her usable in Mant before 3LB or even MLB. If you are going to pull for her, you're either all in or you don't pull. I'll talk about it later as well. As some of you may know, this banner also comes with the benefits or merits of like also being able to get Admire Vega Guts card SR, which is strong for Guts deck specifically. However, at Top Road, you have to have the commitment. You have to be ready to commit all the way until she gets MLB'd, or you just don't pull at all. I would only recommend anybody to pull for her if you are ready to drop 400 pulls on her. That's going to be my recommendation. If we look at the comparison table here, between the 4 most commonly used SSRs in Make a New Track, Narita Top Road, without any fans, without her unique skill activated, is going to have a relatively weaker speed and power training. However, we're not really relying on early game speed trainings anyways, assuming when it's amped at 200k fans, which is usually around like halfway to the latter half of the run, Narita Top Road is going to get 20% training effect, and her training is going to be a tiny bit stronger than everybody else's training. She has the strongest speed training effect in the entire game for as of now at 200k fans in like the latter half of the run. Even stronger than Sweep Tosho Speed SSR, which does not have the power bonus but has a very high friendship bonus. The thing about Top Road is really just that she has an extra power bonus and also has like a stronger late game click. If you already have Beacon Pegasus MLB, if you're down on budget, you could just definitely run Beacon Pegasus still instead. However, that's not to say that Narita Top Road is not strong in terms of single click, and in terms of the compatibility with the scenario, Narita Top Road still has quite the lead over the other similar support cards in the environment. To sum Narita Top Road up, she is the strongest speed card for 4 months, only 4 months, during the Trackblazer scenario. After that, she disappears in the sea of butterflies and becomes an illusion of the past. She will never be able to shine again, or she will not really be relevant at all out of the Trackblazer scenario. Unlike Matikanetannhauser, which is still usable in the Grandmaster scenario for score chasing purposes or to fill a card slot. Yeah, she on the global server is just only good for 4 months. You can decide for yourself if that is a good enough investment to go for like 400 pulls on her or not. Again, she has 63 pulls on day 7 to day 12, and she cannot be exchange ticketed with the anniversary paid or free select ticket that they give you. You can consider pulling Narita Top Road if you don't have Fuku already and want your training to go crazy in making a track. There are a lot of substitutes and a lot of workarounds. You can still definitely run Kitasan Black. You're not losing out that much for running Kitasan Black. Seriously, Kitasan Black might even be a tiny bit more consistent in terms of maxing speed over the course of like 10 runs. But there's no denying that she is strong. She doesn't give as much mid-game in her skill set, and she's also riskier to pull on without crystals. If you get 2 copies or more from the free pulls, or if you already have like 400 pulls plus 1 crystal saved up for Top Road and you already put her in your pull plan, you can consider pulling for her. That's going to be it for Narita Top Road, and we're now going to move on to Admire Vega. SR Guts Admire Vega is one of the most talked about support cards in recent release, and for good reason. I'll explain it now. Admire Vega is a Guts stack component and is only used on Guts stack. You may know her for her 15% race bonus, but the purpose of her or having her in your deck, not just for the 15% race bonus, but for the speed and power bonus. You might know that in Umamusume, training is multiplicative, and for example, if we have over here, say like Guts, Yukinobijin, and Yukinodictus, and Harura all onto Guts, we are going to get a whopping 53 Guts stat and 17 speed and 17 power. Yeah, sure, that's a lot of numbers, right? But the purpose of Guts stacks is not exactly to get the Guts stat. One Guts stat is approximately, before the 1200 cap raised, equal to 1/6 of a speed stat. So every 6 Guts stat equals to 1 speed stat. It's really not the goal to raise the Guts stats. The Guts stat is more so, oh wow, you're getting a bunch of this and you're also getting speed and power. So ideally, the Guts cards that you have is going to have, say, like power or speed bonus, which right now we don't have the Guts Admire Vega yet. But like, for example, with another extra speed bonus here, with Ines Fujin with speed bonus here, we're going to get like 22 speed. This is the purpose of the 1 speed and power bonus. This speed and power bonus is going to help your Guts training actually become human and raise the quote-unquote correct stats, which is speed and power, and Guts stat is still low-key kind of ass. And Guts stat is still not the stat that you are chasing for, even in a fully Guts maxed Guts wit deck. This is quite important to recognize. This is going to set the tone for us explaining Admire Vega and why she's so strong from now on. She offers a whopping 15% race bonus. First of all, this is like a very significant stat effect that is rarely found on other SSR cards. Even today, if you sort by race bonus, bonus in JP, there are barely any support cards that has 15% race bonus. You would see like the two newest support cards here, it's like Almanai and Admire Groove is going to have 15% race bonus, but that's about it. This is a very rare trait in support cards, and in Mance, since you race a lot, more race bonus, while it doesn't directly equate to better, it equates to it's pretty cool. You get more stats. I will explain why race bonus is not recommended to blindly chase for in the Mant guide, but yeah, 15% race bonus helps you reach the 50 threshold or even like 65 threshold much easier depending on your deck, and so it's quite nice. Again, 1 speed, 1 power bonus is going to help her training become actually human and train stats on the relevant stats instead of dropping all of the training effect onto guts, which is not good. 35 specialty priority is on the low side. You do have to hope that the 3 goddesses bless your luck and your whistles help you tell the support cards to go back onto guts where they belong. Friendship bonus 30% and also mood effect 30% is going to help her with her training, amplifying the speed and power gain that she gets from guts training. Her skills are relatively nothing burger. Masterful Gambit is terrible. Level-headed is, well, it requires you to be blocked, which is kind of ass. Ankles and straightaways is nice to have, but that's about it. Strategist is like TT skill. Tether is not good. She has Ankles and Savvy on her second event, guaranteed, and Subdued Pace Chasers, which is just the Pace Chaser debuff skill. The best part of her card is actually like the first event. Her first event is 20 energy. It's really nice in the early game to just be able to pull out 20 energy out of your ass, and it's really nice to be able to just get 20 energy in the early game and potentially not need to rest or use an energy drink. Okay, Charles, how relevant is gut stacks? Do I really need to sacrifice like 200, 400 pulls for Admire Vega Guts? I would say no, you could just totally go speed, power, and wit, and I'd argue in the global environment, it's even stronger than in JP or other servers or Taiwanese or Korean servers. We have a time constraint. Our Mant duration is 4 months instead of 6. We have less time to prep our aces. Yes, we have all understood that in the past few months, I'm sure. If we look at the next 6 CMs for Mant, it's 3200, 2000, 24, 1600, 2200, and 1200. For the 1600 and 1200 CMs, these two CMs, you can run Gut Stack. A Gut Stack is pretty much locked in around here. You can go for 1200, 600, 1200, 1200, 1200, crazy ass stat line. There are also other Guts cards, for example, Guts Bamboo Memory, to give you extra skills. Guts is quite relevant in these two CMs. However, 11, 12, 13, and 15, these 4 CMs, along medium, medium, and medium, arguably, you don't need gut stacks. I would say you don't need gut stacks. You could definitely get away with just running speed, power, wit, or speed, stam, wit, because speed, stam, wit has an insane stability of the run. You can hit your stat line. Once you understand the Mant scenario, or even if you're like a complete beginner into Mant scenario, you're just mashing buttons, you will find out that with the correct sparks and setup, you can print the exact same stat line every single run, and all you're doing is just re-rolling skills. The thing with gut stacks is that if you look at the support cards that we're really using with gut stacks, we're slamming what? We're slamming Yukino Beaching Guts, Ikuno Dictus Guts if you're a whale, Urara Guts for 0%, 0 bond early game, and then there's like Admire Vega. Let's just pretend that Admire Vega is here, you know? All these cards have no relevant gold skills, whereas if I run like a speed, power, wit deck, I can run like my own speed and wit cards, and then I can borrow relevant support cards such as Yanumuteki, Admire Vega, and then also like Small Falcon and El Conapasa. These 4 support cards all have 10% race bonus. Gut stack are not needed to play the Mant scenario. You can definitely go, as I just said now, still go speed, power, and wit and just coast by the entire scenario much more comfortably than what a Guts player would do. This is my personal opinion. Speed, power, and wit is going to be better than Guts wit in terms of consistency in the global environment because of the time constraint. And on top of the fact that you're not getting that many good gold skills out of speed Guts decks or Guts wit decks, Guts stat is generally just not worth as much because 6 guts in terms of like the speed effect that you're getting is approximately equal to 1 speed. So like if you're able to get a higher quality skill out of your support cards with like better, more human borrows such as these ones, you are better off to not go guts decks. I would say that guts decks is not needed and you don't need to worry about it too much. That's the main point that I want to bring out, I suppose, in this video. I'm not saying that guts deck is bad, it's that even for budget players, there are better options out there. With a weak deck, it's going to take a lot of runs to hit a strong usable stat line and also hit strong skills for your ace on mat. One final note is that Christmas Ogre has good compatibility with the Guts decks due to her requiring less stamina with her recoveries on her unique skill and the condition or triggers for her unique skill. So if you're considering playing Christmas Ogre and you do have the budget to drop on the banner, sure. But like, as I said before, running power cards is totally fine. Seriously, it's going to be much stronger and you're going to get more skills. Here's one final disclaimer. This is just my personal opinion of the scenario according to my own experience. You're free to disagree and you're free to have a different take, really, and have a different opinion because there's a lot of ways to play Make Any Track and no player in MANT plays this exact same. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Hope you guys found this video informative and helpful. If you liked the video, considering liking and subscribing to the channel. This is Charles of Victoria Frontier. Feel free to check me out on the Make Any Track stream when the scenario drops on the global server. I'll see you guys in the next one.